0704. Members of the public looking to participate online, please raise your hand and staff will send you a request to unmute at the appropriate time. We're being broadcast on the BCAT government channel. You can find it on Comcast 99, RCN 15, and Verizon 41. We're also streamed on Facebook Live via the BCAT government Facebook page. Chairman LaRue, can we do a roll call?
We can, and before we do that, I'm getting a request from Brenda. Could you please have Caleb send her the link?
Sure.
Yep.
Thank you.
No problem. So
in the meeting is for the roll call, right?
yeah, we have a quorum present. Okay. So I'm going to request Ernie to unmute as well.
He's already unmuted.
Oh, good.
Oh, he unmuted.
Okay, so Chairman LaRue.
Here.
Member Impemba.
Yes.
Member Gaffney.
Yes.
Member Covino.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Great. All right, we have 2 items being withdrawn from the agenda tonight. May I have a motion?
Thank you. Madam Chair, I'd like to take item C out of order for discussion purposes.
Joe, can you say?
Second.
Thank you.
Chairman LaRue.
Yes.
Member Impemba. Member Covino.
Yes.
Member Gaffney.
Yes.
Okay. Item C, 7C, sorry, is a continued public hearing, application for approval of a special permit pursuant to section 4.3.14G, wireless communications facilities, which are subject to section 8.4.0, shall be permitted in the wireless communications overlay districts in accordance with the map depicting the districts and the provisions of section 1.0 of the zoning bylaws. Of the zoning bylaws, 27 Blanchard Road, Dish Wireless LLC is the applicant.
Madam Chair, may I make a motion to have the planning board accept the applicant's request to withdraw without prejudice for the application for removal for the special permit pursuant to section 4.3.1.1.4G of the zoning bylaw for property at 27 Blanchard Road as requested in email from the applicant dated February 15, 2024.
Second.
Chairman LaRue.
Yes.
Member Impemba.
Yes.
Covino.
Yes.
Gaffney.
Yes. Madam Chair, I'd like to make another motion to take item 7D out of order for discussion purposes, please.
Chairman LaRue. Oh, sorry.
Second, sorry.
Chairman LaRue.
Yes.
Member Impemba.
Yes.
Covino.
Yes.
Gaffney.
Yes.
Okay, item 7D is a continued public hearing, petition to amend the zoning bylaws Article 2 definitions to add a definition for middle housing submitted by the planning board.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to withdraw without prejudice.
So
Second.
So before we get to that, Madam Chair, if I may, I think we want to, so this has been on our agenda. And so I think the thought process was that we would talk about it during the discussion time,
Okay.
but we've been continuing it on our official agenda. And so we figure when we have a more solidified plan,
We'll read.
then we'll reopen it and do the whole thing. But just to keep things smooth on the agenda.
Okay. Are we hearing anything from Brenda?
Brenda's on now.
Oh, great.
I'm going to request unmute her. She can be.
Thank you, Brenda. Okay.
Okay, so
Withdraw was the,
was it seconded?
Withdraw without prejudice.
Yes.
That's correct.
Chairman LaRue.
yes.
Rappaport.
Yes.
Impemba.
Yes.
Covino.
Yes.
Gaffney.
Yes.
Okay. Next item on our agenda is public participation. Is there anyone here in the audience or online who would like to speak on an item that is not on our agenda tonight? Please raise your hand. Seeing no one, we will move on to announcements.
Yes, so this upcoming Monday is President's Day, which means that all town offices will be closed. Next Wednesday, the 21st, I want to share my screen that I talked about this quickly at the last meeting as well, but I want to plug it again that there is going to be a forum on environmental cleanup in the Central Business District hosted by the Burlington Board of Health. And this is going to be next Wednesday, the 21st at Grandview Farm. And it's going to be from 5:30 to 7. And they're going to be giving an update about assessment and cleanup of hazardous materials in this part of town. So you can see this is Terry Ave right here, and here are the sites that are highlighted in their poster. So if you have any more questions about that, please contact the Board of Health. Next up is Maytown meeting, which we're gonna be talking more about later in this planning board meeting, but we want to put this out there. This is gonna be on May 13th. All zoning articles for Maytown meeting have been submitted. The next scheduled planning board meeting, which is March 7th, is going to be a joint meeting with the Land Use Committee and Zoning Bylaw Review Committee, where all the zoning articles will be open as public hearings. And then at the following planning board meeting on March 21st, that's when the planning board will be taking their votes to recommend to town meeting for all those zoning items. Finally is upcoming elections, and I want to preface this that I got this off the town clerk's website, so if you have any questions about anything related to the election, please contact the town clerk's office. That the presidential primary is March 5th, and the deadline to vote, to request to vote by mail is February 27th. And the town election is April 6th, and that means that March 27th is the last day to register to vote, and April 1st is the last day to request to vote by mail.
Do any other members have other announcements? Okay, well, I have one. I wanted to let everyone know that the Sculpture Park has put out its latest call to artists for 2024. The call went live today and will be open for 8 weeks. And this is in anticipation of some of the pieces that are current in the park going away this summer and being replaced by new ones. So it's an exciting time for the Sculpture Park. We will probably be selecting new sculptures by mid-May. So, thank you. We do not have any legal notices or non-approvals, so we're going to move on to administrative matters.
Applicant.
Okay, first is item 6A, but do we want to table this for now?
I think so, yes.
Okay, may I have a motion to table until the applicant is present?
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to table item 6A, thank you, till the applicant arrives.
Second.
Chairman LaRue,
Yes.
Rappaport. Impemba,
Yes.
Covino,
yes,
Gaffney.
Yes,
Thank you. Okay, moving on to matters of appointment. Our.
Madam Chair, yeah. Can I make a motion to take item 7A and 7B for discussion purposes?
Chairman LaRue,
Yes.
Rappaport,
Yes.
Impemba, Covino,
yes,
Gaffney.
Yes.
Item 7A is a continued public hearing, application for approval of a special permit pursuant to 4.2.6.14. Contractors in such services as, but not limited to, building maintenance, landscaping, electrical, masonry, carpentry, well drilling. Of the zoning bylaws, 5 to 7 Ray Avenue Hub Building Maintenance is the applicant. And item 7B is a continued public hearing, application for approval of a site plan waiver. 5 to 7 Ray Avenue Hub Building Maintenance is the applicant. Who is here representing the applicant?
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. For the record, Christine Hung, Reamer Bronstein. With me tonight, I have Alex Tupper, who is the owner of Hub Building Maintenance, the applicant. The applicant purchased the building in November of 2023. He is looking to consolidate his contractor operations to Burlington. Currently, he has his office space in South Boston and a storage space in Woburn, and those are all going to be consolidated to the facility here at 5 Ray Ave in Burlington. To orient you to the site, we have Cambridge Street kind of on plan left, and the Escadrille, that larger building, and Ray Ave, and then the building, 5 Ray Ave, is where the red dot is. That is the Locust property. The building that currently sits on the property is approximately 5,500 square feet. The applicant's operations will consist primarily of office, and that will be 2,500 square feet, and then storage space for the rest, which will be about 3,000 square feet. His contractor operations will consist, the supply will consist mostly of drywall and paints. There will be no exterior storage outside. Everything will just be in the building. He has intended interior renovations to the building, nothing exterior, but the amount of the interior renovations triggered an ADA compliance. So what he is required to do per ADA is to the left of the front door, he's required to put in a ramp, a handicap accessible ramp. So those shrubs will be removed. In the back, there is a staircase in the back, dilapidated, and then that will be repaired. It will be a precast concrete stairwell with railings that. Because, so that's really what triggered the exterior kind of work. Because the Little Brook, oh, Caleb, can you go back? The Little Brook runs between, in a jurisdictional resource area. Yeah, so it runs between those buildings. So it triggered an RDA. We were before the Conservation Commission last week. They issued a negative determination subject to a landscape plan. So in the back, in the rear, if you can just advance the slide, please, Caleb. There is, in the rear, in the back where the parking and the loading bays are, there is a mulch area along the Little Brook. That currently it's mulch, and so the Concom wanted to, and there are no catch basins on site, so they wanted the applicant to create kind of like a little shallow swale area where it could be a stormwater management, as well as to plant some shrubs so that it could infiltrate and be some sort of stormwater management, and actually, and then also to plant some landscaping. So the applicant hired a landscape architect who designed this landscaping and the stormwater management. We had a call with John Keeley and Eileen, and they were approved the plan. It has to be approved by conservation, so that's our next step. We'll apply for another RDA with this landscape plan to then be approved by the commission. But then we'll be planting 4 red maple trees in the back of the lot. There'll be stormwater shrubs in that shallow swale area. And also we're gonna put up like a timber fence, so as a protection, so that for safety, because the Little Brook is right there and it daylights in that area as well. So it's really for a safety measure. To the front of the building, we're going to be replanting the shrubs because they're kind of like old and not very pretty. We're gonna replant the area to the right, as well as there's a little grassy area in the front that will loam and seed. And really, that's it. It's existing conditions. No pavement is being torn up or anything like that. It's compliant with parking, and so so right now, that's it for my presentation. I'll turn it over to Alex, who can just talk a little bit about his operations and introduce himself.
Sure. Thank you, Christine, and thank you everyone for being here tonight. I appreciate your time. My name is Alex Tepper. I'm the owner and operator of Hub Building Maintenance. I started the business 7 years ago as a painting company. Over the last 7 years, we've evolved, continued to grow into now what I consider a full-time general contracting business. Our main book of business is commercial clients doing office space, a little bit in colleges, but primarily office and industrial space. We do, tenant fit outs and those type of things. We've done some small work in Burlington. A lot more of my work in the Burlington area is painting and maintenance. But it's always been a goal of mine to get up in this area, specifically Burlington. It's such a robust place, such a great location. I'm very eager to get into the space and start operating out of here and consolidate my other operations. The building is definitely bigger than what I need at this time, so I'm looking forward to growing into it for many years to come. I'm looking forward to being in town and being a contributing member.
I should also note that on a daily basis, there'll be 3 to 4 employees that will be working in the office space, but most of the other workers will be in and out, picking up supplies from the building and then going off to job sites. So, and there's no retail component, so there's not going to be any people coming in to buy anything. It's purely just office and then storage, and for their employees to come in, pick up the supplies and the materials to go off to the job site.
Okay, thank you. Staff, did you want to add anything?
No, I don't, we haven't seen anything that's kind of, that would warrant anything other than that. It seems like a good reuse of kind of an older building. And I think, you know, it's the type of use that this area has kind of been for in this industrial use, so we don't have concern.
Okay, just one clarification. Am I correct in understanding that the green strip in front of the parking lot that is along the street is not owned by this same property owner? This is town-owned land, correct?
Oh, I'm not,
That
yeah,
town right of way or some, is that correct?
That's what so Christine, so the red dotted line, so the blue dotted line in this plan, is that the lot
It
line?
does say sight line here as a
And
point.
so it's the lot line. So, I mean, technically the Lomans, I mean, I personally, we have property owners who do that anyway. But, so, I mean, but yeah, the lots down here are all kind of, they're funny. They're, you know, from back in the day.
When you say they do that and do what?
So if, so it's even homeowner, so if a homeowner has a mailbox and plantings around their mailbox and the mailbox is in the right of way, people maintain that.
Right.
So that was my point, that,
So they maintain, so that property owner would typically maintain that.
I think that's
Fair
that's the point I'm trying to make. Yep.
and the applicant is happy to loam and reseed that area, even if it was in the town.
Yeah, exactly, yeah, I think that's my main point.
All right, gentlemen, who wants to go first?
I'll go first. Is there anything we can do besides lumen seed that area? Can we put in an ornamental tree or two there?
How wide is it? Maintained to?
This has 4 feet is the dimensions.
Okay.
That here.
So one of the reasons why it might be an issue, because in that back portion, because that area is 4 feet, our landscape architect said that that's kind of like a tight area to plant trees. That's why we decided to plant them kind of in the rear of the lot. We can ask to see if that's something that can be done. He just thought because it's such a narrow strip so if you, where that shallow swale is, it's exactly 4 feet. So that's why we're planting just shrubs. In the tree, the red maples are in the back where there's more area.
What we were talking about in the front of the building, though, along the street.
Yeah, and so I guess my point is it's
Shade trees. It could just be small ornamental trees.
There's actually
Yes.
trees that they use for sidewalks that don't,
Yes.
the root systems don't go out that much and the trees don't.
They're usually
Crazy
winter
wide, they're more manageable.
like those little ornamental pears,
Yeah, I
things
think-
like that.
I don't know if they have done
I'm happy to look into it.
in the district area or, they might be in the district area
So
or,
they don't grow into giant shade trees. They tend to be a little more,
Yeah, we're happy to look
Narrow.
at that.
okay?
And I guess it's not an irrigation because there's no irrigation or anything like in
I mean,
the,
they're trees, so they wouldn't really require,
Well, usually what they do now is when they first plant the tree, they put that giant bag thing on them for the first year that slowly waters the tree. And then once that's done, you take it away and the tree can survive on its own after that.
yeah. And I guess the other issue it is if it would affect sightline distance, but we can look into all of that and see. And if it's appropriate to put like a tree or two there, we wouldn't have a problem with doing something like that.
I want it to be as beautiful and as attractive building as possible. So if we can make it happen, I'm happy to do so.
it's 4 feet wide, what's the length of it?
Let's see, this,
Yeah.
Like,
this
There may be a few trees.
77, no, that's not gonna be the full length of them.
I think it's fairly long.
Yeah,
I
it's
think
like
it's
20
like
feet.
20 feet or something.
Yeah, it's like the length of the building.
Yeah, the width of the building is 50,
it bought the six,
though.
looks like 50, no, it looks like 50.
So maybe 3 trees.
Yeah, so it'd be approximately 50 feet, give or take.
So 3 ornamental trees?
At a
Can we
minimum.
put that in
Yeah.
addition? Okay.
We have it as a shall versus a should.
I mean, yes, so that my only hesitation is if the landscape architect is saying that, the trees are not gonna live.
If we ask him and he'll give us his honest opinion, like if we can.
Yeah.
I understand what the intent is or what the
Yes.
request is, and we'll ask him, we'll talk to him, we'll have that conversation. He'll be honest with us. If he can do it, he'll do it. If not, then,
Yes, Well, he could probably advise as to what tree would be most likely to survive, and I'm on
Yeah, 'cause we
for our trees that
we don't
survive there.
hit and then die, yeah.
I mean, there are definitely trees that are put on the side.
Yeah.
In
Yes.
the centers of town, and,
Mhm.
you know, they're not,
Yes.
they don't block out views, and they don't promote, you know, it's really about the root systems that don't
Right.
spread out.
And
He'll probably know exactly what
Yeah.
type of
Mhm.
tree would be best for that area.
Perfect. Yep.
All right, great.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair.
Anyone else? Anything else? No? Anyone, members online? Did either of you?
Nope,
What,
all
did you have
set.
something?
Yeah,
I thought you,
No, I'm good.
no, you think he's all set?
My next one.
I thought that was you talking.
No, I asked Liz,
Oh,
because I asked Liz what she was talking about with the,
oh, so
yeah,
Do you have more to say?
yeah, no, I
Oh,
just had
go
a couple
ahead.
questions.
Of course, sorry, I misunderstood.
So obviously the escadrille next door, that's, you know, they have pumpkins and things like that. There's not gonna be any, like you said, no outdoor from the outside. From the outside, you're not really gonna be seeing what's going on inside or.
no, all the storage will be contained inside the building, no exterior storage of any building materials. So,
Do you have trucks, you have typically in the morning, in the afternoon, guys picking stuff up, dropping things off? Is that what's?
Typically in the morning in vans, in pickup trucks is typically what you'll see. In the morning till about 2 or 3 in the afternoon, and then
Okay.
day wraps up pretty early.
Is there the potential for any type of hazardous material to be stored there at all? Like
Not that I'm,
materials that you bring from, you know, that you rip out of buildings at all, or, you know, any kinds of fuels or things like that that would be stored in the area?
not that I can think of, no.
Madam Chair, just one more question
Of
here.
course.
Thank you. Just in the site plan, I'm not familiar with the term, it's a 30-foot max box truck shown. Is that a truck or what is that?
Here, this part here, of where the loading dock
What is that? Yeah.
Is that just mimicking what it bought?
yeah, what a box truck could look like, because that's a loading dock right there. So it's
Oh,
mimicking like if a loading, yeah,
And is that the max, meaning the largest possible
yeah,
that
you
would
wouldn't have,
potentially be there?
yeah, you wouldn't have any,
sections would be the cab of the truck. Is that what that's trying to show? To the right? Yeah, right.
yeah,
There. Is that correct? That wants to show the
Yes.
cab of the truck? Okay. Thank you.
That's all?
Yeah, I just didn't think, I don't know if it was a container or what it was there. Thank you.
I think member Cavino had a question?
No, all set,
Oh,
thank you.
no. Oh, okay. Member Rappaport, anything?
oh, yes, I will unmute her. Oh,
I don't think her hand is up.
I think we keep muting each other, but.
Okay. Brenda, if you want to say something, raise your hand.
No, I'm good, thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right.
Madam Chair, may I have a motion to close public hearing on this matter?
Second.
Chairman LaRue,
Yes.
Rappaport,
Yes,
Impemba,
Yes.
Pavino,
Yes,
Gaffney.
Yes. Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve the request of Hub Building Maintenance for a section 4.2.6.14 establishments of contractors and such services as, but not limited to, building maintenance, plumbing, landscaping, electrical, masonry, carpentry, well drilling of the town of Burlington zoning bylaw to allow for the operation of a licensed contracting business to be located in existing 16,290 plus minus square feet tenant space for property located at 5 Ray Avenue in the general industrial IG district, subject to the terms, conditions contained in Exhibit A attached as amended.
Yes, it can be.
Second.
Chairman LaRue,
Yes.
Rappaport,
yes,
Impemba,
Yes.
Pavino,
yes,
Gaffney.
Yes. Okay. Next is a motion, Madam Chair, for the planning board finds this property is a proper request for a site plan waiver since the plan submitted is an acceptable plan for the purposes of reviewing the proposed modifications.
Chairman LaRue,
Yes.
Rappaport,
yes,
Impemba,
Yes.
Pavino,
yes,
Gaffney.
Yes. Okay, Madam Chair, I'd like to make another motion to approve the request of the HUD Building Maintenance for approval of a site plan waiver for a property located at 5 Ray Avenue to operate business operations as a licensed contractor, associated interior building maintenance, material storage on the premises and site enhancement as reflected on the site plan entitled 5 Ray Avenue Fit Up, prepared by GSD Associates LLC, dated February 1st, 2024, and revised to February 13th, 2024, and landscaping plan entitled 5 to 7 Ray Avenue, Burlington, Mass., prepared by Radner Design Associates, Inc., dated February 14th, 2024, subject to the following revisions, terms, and conditions, as amended.
Second,
Chairman LaRue,
Yes.
Rappaport,
Yes.
Impemba,
yes.
Covino,
yes,
Gaffney.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right.
You have a good one.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Liz. Thank you, of course. Thank you for your help.
Are we moving on to minutes? Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, and then
Supposed to come in?
I don't.
they are not here.
Okay, thank you.
Oh. Okay, so we have two sets of meeting minutes to vote on. I hope all members have had a chance to review them. Let's take them separately.
I have not, Madam Chair.
Okay, do we have enough? Yes, okay.
Uh,
So,
February first, that wasn't, so,
okay, let's have, could you, Joe, make a motion for January 18th?
sure, make a motion, we accept the minutes of January 18th, 2024.
Can I get a second from online?
Second.
Chairman LaRue,
Yes,
Rappaport.
Yep.
Impemba,
Yes,
Covino,
yes,
Gaffney.
Abstain.
and then February 1st, perhaps someone online could make a motion, because I don't think either
Madam-
of them.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve the meeting minutes of February, what did we say, February 1st?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
second,
Chairman LaRue,
yes,
Vice Chair Rappaport. Impemba,
abstain.
Covino,
yes,
Gaffney.
Abstain.
is that enough?
It's 3-0-2.
302.
Yeah.
I guess.
If we have to bring it up at another meeting, we will.
Second.
We'll double
on that.
check, but I mean,
Yeah, so,
Okay,
I mean, it's whatever, that you have a quorum, so
Yeah.
it's whatever the majority.
oh, okay.
Perfect.
It doesn't have to be.
Thank you, Joe. Okay, so we're moving on to item 9 on our agenda, discussion items. And the first discussion item is a recap of our MBTA Communities Working Group. I was not able to attend the last meeting. I did watch it online. I know Member Gaffney was there, and were there other members as well?
I don't think other members of the planning board were there.
The rest of the,
Rest of those were, and it was all recorded, and the recording is up on the website.
Right. Okay.
So,
this has been a real hot topic online, and in the community.
And in the news.
And in the news. So I did want to make just a few things clear before we get into the nitty-gritty about what was discussed at the working group. What I think is very important for the community to understand is, first, this is a law. It is not optional. For the company to, for the town to decide not to comply to the law is basically deciding to break the law. There are some communities that are defying this law and probably are going to end up in extended and very expensive legal battles. Most of those communities are in a very, very different place than the town of Burlington. The town of Burlington has done a very good job over the last couple of decades providing multifamily housing and providing affordable housing. And because we have done that, it is actually going to be quite easy for us to comply with this law. And we can probably do that with minimal or no impact on the town. So it would be my opinion that if we can do that with great ease, there would be no reason to become embroiled in a expensive and extensively long legal battle with our state. So that having been said, I think we should talk a little bit about why it's so easy for Burlington to comply and the options that we have before us.
sure. So, I kind of also wanted to get started by saying that the planning department, has been aware of this law since Charlie Baker passed it back in 2021, 2020. So this was a law that was passed by the Baker administration. And since then, our department has been keeping tabs on it and looking at it and kind of calculating, you know, the best way to approach it. You know, it's, you know, it doesn't allow for a lot of like long-term planning when it, so, you know, it's not, I don't think a planner wrote the law, if that makes sense. But, you know, it is the law. And, you know, there are other communities that have not been as progressive with permitting multifamily housing as Burlington has. I've said from the beginning, and I've said this at town meeting, that, you know, we have because of that progressive attitude, we really should, you know, get credit where credit is due. So part of the requirement is that we have an overlay district. So we have extra zoning on top of our existing zoning that allows for multifamily housing by right. So what that means is that in those areas, multifamily housing can be built by just going to the planning board and filing for a site plan review. So it doesn't need to go to town meeting. It doesn't need to get a special permit from the planning board or ZBA or any other authority. It just needs to meet the standards of our site plan review, which I think I would argue are a really good baseline. So we are getting credit where credit is due. We want to put this zoning overlay district on a lot of existing multifamily housing. And so kind of that has been one of the you know, talking about that with the working group. I assembled the working group earlier this year. I tried to get as diverse voices as I could. I got members from obviously the planning board, land use committee, DBRC, members of the select board, and, you know, at-large members, anybody, you know, who kind of really wants to dig into zoning language. So it's, you know.
We have business community members.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Sorry, Barbara, you're right. We also have members of the chamber.
And Rick, yeah.
Yeah, we have members of the chamber who have been active. And so I think that, you know, we have people on both sides in this group. And I think that it's been really engaging and really wonderful to have those conversations. We've had 2 meetings thus far. Basically, the whole group, I think I can say, feels that the town, there's really no reason why the town shouldn't comply with this, because it's really not a heavy lift, because we've really done the planning and the zoning and the permitting earlier on, like in the past. So most of what we're proposing is over existing multifamily housing. We have chosen to eliminate the Lord Byron property from the zoning overlay, for the main reason being that the Lord Byron property is home to a lot of, you know, it's naturally occurring affordable housing. And that may sound crazy, but naturally occurring meaning that it's not state subsidized affordable housing. It's housing that because of its age cannot get the same kinds of rent as a newer building. Therefore, it's more susceptible, if we put it in the overlay, to be torn down and have all of those residents who are vital to the business base of this town displaced. We don't want to see the people who live there displaced. So we have removed that area for that reason. You know, a lot of the people living there, you know, they work in the school system as aides, they work at the hospital, you know, they're people of our community that we really rely on. And so I think that we made the decision that take that out. And even with taking it out, we're still in excellent shape. You know, it's not, you know, we're not at risk of completely changing the character of the town, or we're going to be inundated with thousands of units of housing. That's not what we're planning for. That's not what I want to happen. That's not what we're planning to do. And the other major point I want to make is that there is no requirement that any of the housing gets built. have a zoning district that allows multifamily housing. That's it.
But does anybody realistically think if we create the ability for it to happen, it's not gonna happen here?
Well, I think why don't we drill down to what the actual sites are, and then you'll see, because most of them, it already exists. So there's no reason to think they would tear down existing multifamily housing to build multifamily housing that would be in the same density. So there's, I think I'll let Liz maybe blow the map up a little bit so you can see
Caleb,
what's
sorry.
Yep, I would, and I also want to say that Vice Chair before she had her hand raised, but she's put it into the chat as well, that to let everyone know that we're gonna be taking a deeper dive into this at our next meeting as well.
Who is this?
Sherry.
Oh,
Sherry,
Brenda,
okay.
Brenda put
Oh,
this in.
sorry.
Oh,
Sherry had a different question.
yes,
So that, just wanted to let.
that's true.
everyone know. That's what
This is a
Brenda.
discussion. We won't be actually voting on this tonight.
Yep.
And we're going to talk about it again at our next meeting.
And it will be a
Thank you,
public hearing
Brenda.
at our next meeting as well.
Yeah.
So I'm going to share this where I can do this a little bit closer.
Madam Chair, if I may, for those who are watching or, if this
Section of our meeting is discussed in the Buzz or any other forum. If folks do have questions about this concept and what we're sharing at this point in time, or any other questions that that they may have that we're not discussing, that it would be great if they could forward those questions to staff prior to our next meeting so that we can address everyone's issues. I mean, it's definitely a better forum to do so during our meeting rather than a Facebook chat room.
Thank you, Brenda. Okay, Liz?
Kind of go from right to left.
Sure. So this is the proposed zoning overlay. So this Tuesday, all zoning warrant articles were required to be submitted as drafts to the town, to the select board's office. So this is our current draft. So the first area we have is the Beacon Village area. And so that's existing multifamily housing. You know, the property owner has done renovations on that site. They've come to this board to look to do even more renovations. So they're a property owner that I believe is, actively trying to improve the site. And so as far as, I would say the committee kind of felt like it wasn't the type of place that the property owner is going to sell, evict everybody in 2 weeks, and new multifamily is going to go in there.
And plus the density, it would not be any greater under MBTA communities, so there's not a lot of incentive to do that.
Yeah, so we talked a lot about density, and for the uninitiated, because this is very, technical zoning stuff that if you're not kind of in the world, it doesn't mean anything to you. So the MBTA communities overlay requires that we have a minimum of 15 units per acre by right. We allow for that. So in your head, you can think about pretty much all of the housing in the town center. The housing specifically behind CVS, if you want to visualize that, that's about 15 units per acre. So it's like townhomes, really. And so Beacon Village area is a lot higher than that.
What's the acreage of Beacon Village?
I can pull it up. Give me a minute.
Well, that whole area, so that's not just Beacon Village, that's Beacon Village, Georgia Drive, I think it is. I have all of
Get
these.
it
You know
all
the
up.
condo.
The
runs to the right
condos.
of it. That one.
Dover.
Dover, that's right, Dover,
Yeah.
and then also, why can't I think of
Let
what
me
it's
get it.
called? The Westgate Apartments, the Westgate Towers.
Some of those are in Burlington,
Some,
yeah,
right.
yeah.
Yep.
Ready, if we
Yep.
pull it up right here.
Yeah, it's a lot, and so I'm trying, I want to,
So this kind of gives people a sense that it's 4 parcels, so it's Beacon Village, Dover and Georgia Drive condos, Westgate apartment, amenities in the Westgate Garden Apartments. And here, right as you border Woburn.
As the T runs down Beacon, is that?
I think so.
We don't have to be within a certain radius of the bus line because we're an adjacent community. So
Okay.
it can be anywhere in town.
Yeah, I mean,
It's nice if it's within walking distance of a bus because it works for the people who live there, but it's not required.
it is in walking distance to
The
grocery
trade
store, which is pretty
Yes.
good,
Yeah,
honestly.
that's nice.
It's pretty nice there,
So what the acreage of all that is
This is 38.85 acres total.
Yep, so we have to, again, the bylaw requires an overlay. The overlay has to be 50 acres, a minimum of 50 acres. And it also,
25
and
contiguous. and then
25 of those acres, again, right, it has to be contiguous.
this
So
would-
this is-
Smallest amount is 5.
Right, so
Right,
this
and
is our large chunk.
Yep.
This is our 25 acre contiguous chunk to meet that requirement.
So you're saying there's actually 38 acres there.
30.
That's correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it doesn't only meet the 25, it actually meets 38 of the 50, is that correct?
Right.
Yes, but again, it gets even more complicated. So your logic makes sense, Joe. There is a secondary component to this bylaw to this state law, that means that we need to provide, in order to reach compliance, we need to provide the state with a compliance model showing that we, in GIS and through an Excel spreadsheet, that we check all the boxes for this zoning district. We need to prove to the state that we can accommodate a certain number of units. So in that,
Right, so the question comes down to, if you're saying 15 per acre at 38, we don't have 15 per acre if you're looking at 38. So
We have more than 15 per acre there.
not for the whole 38, we don't.
oh,
Not for the-
no.
not for
That's
the whole
right.
38, yeah.
So in other words, it can either be built out much more densely than it is right now, or we're not counting the 38 acres. I'm not sure how.
We're not, this is one tiny piece of the plan. You have to see.
No, I
the whole
understand, but in other words, so my point is that either, if we're gonna count this as 38 countable acres, it can be built out much more densely than it is right now.
Not necessarily, because we can zone this that for a specific number of units per acre, 15 or 20 or whatever we
Right.
decide. But that is, what you're getting at is, if we were to have just this plus maybe 15 more acres to get us to 50, we would have to provide for greater density. What we're suggesting, or what's being proposed, will come out to more than 50 acres, because that way
get
there
the
would not
number.
be as intense
Right.
a use.
To get to that total number of units.
Yeah.
So if we go on,
So
you'll
you don't
see
have- you
there's
don't have to go
additional
over density.
properties.
Right.
No, so what you're saying is that, in other words, so that was the next part of my question. So in other words, we wouldn't necessarily count the 38
Well, you count,
in this 38. We would maybe.
you still count the acres,
Count the acreage, right.
but
Well, but it's not, but we're not counting the numbers within that, within
No,
acres.
so.
we're not building out
So we
those
may have to
38
go to
acres to the,
70 acres.
yes, only probably not
To
70.
allow this density to exist as
Exactly.
it exists right now. Right.
Correct.
That's what was my next piece of
here
the
we
question.
come- so here we come.
Right, so then that's why we keep going to look at the other
Yes, you're getting ahead of us.
places. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Should we go to the next
So
slide?
just to kind of give you a number, that's 1,043.
Yep.
So if you look at,
For this.
for the town
Potential.
has to hit,
Okay.
okay? So if you look at like a town or a city that has MBTA in it, like a Milton, it's more than double that, right? And it has to be
Within a certain
that
radius,
distance that
yeah.
you talked about. So we're in a whole completely different
Yeah.
area than what we're seeing on TV these days.
Yeah, so like you come, a town like Concord that has a train station has
Yep.
completely different requirements than we have, luckily for us.
Higher requirements
Yes.
and closer to where that train station is.
So this is the first kind of area. The next area.
Go ahead, Ernie.
Does that 38 acres also contain some wetlands or not, Liz?
So part of the calculation with the mapping that we have to do with the state, it takes out areas of land that could not be built on. So this area already has removed the wetland
Part
areas.
Back
Yep.
here of kind of where the mouse is, yep.
Yep, no problem.
So the 38 is uplands.
Correct, correct. Yep, exactly, yep.
So the next area,
Yep, next area.
Next area is Heritage at Stone Ridge. There is a portion of that site that the town negotiated for senior affordable housing in the back. And so that part has been removed from the overlay because we don't want to mess with those deed restrictions there. We want to keep all the senior affordable that we possibly can. So we're just considering the market rate units at Heritage at Stone Ridge. It's 5.7 acres. It's a newer development, kind of not in a state that we would worry that it would be a tear down and a rebuild. And then I also believe that it is at a higher density than what would be allowed under the overlay currently. So it doesn't necessarily make financial sense for the property owner to take, or any property owner to take advantage of the new zoning, if that makes sense.
Okay. Area 3, sorry.
Was there any questions on this
Yeah,
one?
the blue area is
So the
being
blue-
removed,
That's
and the
the
red
part where the-
area is what we're keeping, Joe.
The blue area is the senior housing, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. I think is that McNamara Way, is that right?
I think you're right, yes.
McNamara Way is
Yeah.
down off of, yeah, so.
Wall
Street.
Off of
Yep.
Wall Street.
Yep, and so
The
that's
Wall
the
Street's-
McNamara Way housing. Ernie's in
Right.
agreement. Thanks, Ernie.
Okay,
As part of the land swap.
Right.
Yep.
next
Yeah,
area?
next slide, Caleb, thank you. Next we have Lifetime Living, recently built. It also includes the blue area that you see there is the kind of the out parcel that we talked about. We're gonna maybe talk about that a little later on tonight. But this will be included. It's currently above 15 units an acre, so it's kind of, again, getting credit where credit is due.
Yeah,
That's-
it's brand new, nobody's going to tear it down to build something else.
Yep.
Not
No,
anytime soon, yes. And the density would be, there's no density benefit
right,
to doing so.
yep.
Okay. Next one is going to be,
The next is the Huntington and the Tremont, and those are two buildings that are over by Wegmans on Second Ave. Again, they're 20 units an acre plus, some of them are even more than that. So again, these are newer, they are, doing well. I don't believe that the Norblum Company has any plans of tearing them down. I think that they're doing well and rented out, and so I don't think that this is,
And
again,
if-
getting credit.
Right, and if some point in the future, 30 years from now, they are old and they want to tear them down, they can't build anything of greater density than what they have now due to the MBTA law.
Yeah.
That does not give them greater density than what they have now.
So we also have down off of Corporate Drive, which is newer than.
So that's an excellent point. Thank you for bringing
But
it
that's a
up.
40B.
So I did
Yeah.
want to bring that up. So thanks for bringing that up too, Joe. So I have avoided, I've basically recommended that we do not include 40B developments in the overlay. And I've specifically done that because at its essence, a 40B development is a waiver for zoning. So it's a waiver that you can build multifamily zoning in an area that doesn't allow multifamily zoning, right? So if we put this overlay on top of that housing, then it could possibly negate that 40B. And so you could potentially see affordable units. They could say, oh, well, is it a 40B anymore? I just don't want to risk
Because we don't need to.
losing any
Yeah.
40B units because of some weird legal thing that is going to end up being fought out in the courts. I don't want to take that risk for the town. I think we need all the affordable housing we can get. And again, affordable is a really relative term. It's like people
Yes.
making $80,000 a year.
Yeah.
So, but by putting this overlay on there, allowing housing, are you negating that 40B zoning variance? And that's something I want to let
It's a
other
question.
people, it's a
Yeah.
question that I want other towns to do the legal battle on that, because we frankly don't need to. So
Yes.
why go through the trouble? We don't need to, it's not.
Right. So then there's one more area, and if I may, this is the only area that is being proposed that is not already multifamily housing. And the reason why we think it's important to include an area that is not already built out as multifamily is because we want to make sure that this passes muster with the AG and doesn't get kicked back to us. We need to show, or we think it's important to show, a willingness to allow multifamily housing somewhere in town where it doesn't currently exist. That having been said, it's a relatively small parcel. It would be a location that would probably be not a problem to have multifamily housing there, but it also might not be the easiest place to build it due to the topography and the fact that it has multiple owners.
Yeah, so just to orient everybody, so to the left of the red is Middlesex Turnpike. And to the right, the curved line, close to the wetlands, that's Great Meadow Road. So if you can visualize it, it's the Staples. Staples is on its own parcel. So it's the parcel in which Staples is on.
Is that number 4?
Yes, number
Okay.
4, all the way up to where Great Meadow Road meets Middlesex Turnpike.
But not the entire Staples Plaza, just where Staples is, not the rest of the plaza.
And this part over
Okay,
here is, this is Third Ave over here in case.
So parcel 4 is Staples,
Yep,
Yes.
yep.
but you're not including the whole red, or you are?
We are including the whole red, and the blue lines are the property line.
Property lines, yeah.
Yeah, so it's, so,
So that's along Middlesex Turnpike.
As you head north.
It doesn't include like where Tower Records used to be, that
No,
part of the
it's just
plaza.
between Great Meadow and Middlesex Turnpike.
Yes.
It's that strip that
Yes.
used to be,
Exactly.
the chemical company. What was
Yes.
the,
Yep.
I forget.
Johnson?
maybe Ernie would know.
Johnson, was it Johnson? The chemical company that used to be on the corner up there? They used to sell cleaning goods and, was it
They had a karate place in there, remember?
FT Johnson or something like that? It was some,
Fencing place,
Fencing.
yeah. In any case, whatever the name of it
it's the one
was,
in the,
that's
it's
where
the
it
one
is.
literally in the corner, on the
Number one?
very top, the number one site,
Yeah,
on the very
number-
top.
Yeah.
Yep.
yeah. So, there are some planning reasons, besides, getting, making sure that the AG doesn't send it back because we're not, living up to the intent of the law. We think that this is actually, a good place to potentially allow housing. It's walkable to a supermarket, it's close to the mall, it's close to employment centers. And all along, as we've been, Melissa Tentopoulos and our consultants, and we've been talking about the Middlesex Turnpike Mall Road Corridor rezoning initiative and kind of reimagining that area for the post-pandemic economy. There's more and more research showing that if you have commercial buildings adjacent to housing, it increases their value because that housing and having people close by and commercial space, it creates a neighborhood that creates its own kind of small economy. So there's a lot of reasons to consider this. That being said, again, this wouldn't be the easiest site to develop either. So this tomorrow, if town meeting were to pass it, which I hope they will, the next day we're not going to see bulldozers out here. It's going to be a while before you can get enough. You'd have to buy a property, assemble enough space. Because of the topography, that these would also probably need to have some type of structured parking associated with them, like integrated. So, it wouldn't be the cheapest place to develop.
And
but-
even if it were to be developed, it's not an enormous number of units. So all the other sites that we've looked at are already built as multifamily housing. This is the only place where we would have additional multifamily housing, but we're not talking about an enormous number of units because it's a relatively small parcel.
Yeah, we're talking under 200 units.
And we can restrict it to 15 acres per 15 units per acre.
How many total acres? Excuse me.
8.28, Ernie.
All the parcels together.
Ernie, I got my memory back. It's George T. Johnson. That's the company.
So that's the proposal.
Yeah.
So we are going to have a more robust discussion about this at the next meeting, but if people have questions that they want to ask of staff right now or concerns they want to raise, jump in.
One other thing I want to plug is the amazing work that Caleb has done on our MBTA Communities website. And so if you go to the planning page, so if you go to burlington.org and you go to the planning department, on the left-hand side, there's a link for MBTA Communities, and you can learn all about it. I would encourage anybody who's interested to kind of do a deep dive. There's a lot of misinformation out there. There's a lot of, I think people are really stressed out about this because the news and Milton and all this stuff, but you know, I just want to assuage everybody's fears. We're not going to be changing the character of Burlington by complying with this bylaw in any way, shape, or form.
Right.
So, we're in good shape.
So do any other members have questions? Go ahead.
I would just like to compliment the working group. Really looks like there was some good, strong thought that went into this. I know I was at the first meeting, we started out with Barron Park, and I understand why that's been dropped out, and obviously that took some discussion and some thought to replace that, and good job. Thank you.
Thank you, Arnie. One other thing that I wanted to take a moment to throw up there, there's been a lot of discussion online about
The punishment for not complying with the law, which is, it's kind of probably a misnomer, because one of the things that is stated is that if you don't comply with the law, you would lose out on grant money from the state for projects. That is one drawback of not complying with the law. But it's still important, and a lot of people have been asking online, well, how much does that, what does that really equate to? What kind of grants could we be losing out on? And it's very difficult to answer that question because nobody knows what the future holds. That's unknown to all of us, but we can look at what grants we've received in the recent past. So I asked Caleb to bring this up for us.
Yeah, so we, the biggest one that we have really taken advantage of in the past is the MassWorks grants, which give large sums of money, millions of dollars to communities for economic development, planning for economic development purposes. So Joe, you've been around for a lot of them. Third Ave Light, we got a MassWorks grant to do the realignment of Middlesex Turnpike from 128 all the way to the Lexington line. There's probably other ones, I think, up Middlesex Turnpike by Network Drive. There have been some. We got a lot of money for it recently. We got, I think, almost 4 million, not for the PFAS treatment plant, but for the connection to MWRA.
That was huge.
Which was a huge accomplishment, and the state, you know, one of the reasons the state said that they actually were giving us the money is, and we were one of the highest recipients, is because we have been so proactive with housing. So, you know, the work of the past has really, you know, been fruitful for us. And so I just kind of, you know, the town departments do take advantage of these grant programs. And, you know, you may not see them because, you know, they don't always go to town meeting. We get grant money to do a lot of things, but they're really vital to us doing the good work that we do.
So why don't we, speaking of grant, we could try to get the state to give us the property in Grant Ave. Right?
Why not?
As part of as a grant.
For housing or just?
They were supposed to give it to us, a long time ago.
You mean the,
And they
Salt
changed,
shed.
yeah.
yeah.
And then all of a sudden they had a memory loss. Ernie and I can relate to that, but they had a memory loss and they were supposed to be doing it as the swap and they never did it. But that's, you know, another thing we should look at. So the one question I do have on this, is it the housing that they're talking about as part of this program? Is it, does it have to be rental units or can it be
No,
per
there's
owner?
no requirement. The only requirements about it can't be age restricted. We can't state that it has to be age restricted.
Right.
It can be either rental or condos.
So I guess my question is this, why would we not go to the condo areas? Because in order for them to redevelop those areas, they have to buy all individual condos versus buying the property off of one owner. You now gotta buy 150 owners, buy
Yeah.
120 owners.
So one of the reasons why I have stayed away from that, and maybe maybe, I mean, you're in the real estate, you're an attorney doing real estate stuff, so maybe you know better. I've been concerned that rezoning property that people own, like larger scale of that it would be hard for, I think that people would be even more resistant to it.
Which people? The
The condo
People who live
owners,
there.
condo
Yeah.
owners. We had one of, I mean, at one of the working groups, we did have a condo owner who I said, oh, why don't we do it in this area? And they were very adamant, like, I do not want this overlay over my condo. I own this property. I don't, so I think of it as like, that was my concern with doing it.
So isn't that a concern wherever you go? I mean, whether it's an apartment building or whatever it
Right,
is.
but with
it's
an
still
apartment
the same
building, you're
thing.
dealing with one property owner that you can talk to. And with I'm just afraid that condo owners, it'd be a tougher sell. I mean, maybe you disagree, but that was kind of why I did. Also,
Honestly,
we do have some condos in there.
Well, I
Joe.
mean, there are,
are some.
Dover, that whole area, that, in fact,
the
yeah,
thing
I
is,
mean,
we actually have a lot of options.
That's
That
the
was
problem.
one of the things that was actually difficult about this, is that there are so many ways that we can comply. It's not difficult to find properties that we could rezone that would meet this requirement. And that was one of the difficult things, because there are so many options, and everybody has different opinions about what the best options are. This is what the working group came up with, and what I like about it is that it really has very small impact, and yet still demonstrates to the state that we're willing to include some additional housing, which hopefully will pass muster with the AG. But you're right, there are other properties that also could be considered.
but
It's
if-
just
but if
hard
it
to decide which ones.
requires us to rezone, have we even, I mean, this is basically it's a shot in the dark anyway, because we haven't even talked to the owners of the properties, right? So
They
we're
don't,
still
I don't know
rezoning
that
the
they have a
property.
say.
They don't. I am planning on reaching out
Yes.
to them. I'm not going to just fly. Like, I am planning on reaching out
Yes.
to them.
Well, right, but in other words, if they don't have a say, then they don't have a say whether they're condo owners or whether they're individual
Right.
owners. you know?
Right, but I think that individual condo owners, it's a very different discussion with them, because it's somebody
It's
who
like a
owns this
single-
entire, a whole apartment complex. They're looking at this, does this devalue the property that I own? And the answer is no, it doesn't. It might actually increase the value of the property that you own. But when it comes to individual owners of a condo, that's a very different outlook and a very different decision, I think. That's just the way I looked at it, and I think that's the way some of the condo owners looked at it. But you're right, there are other places that also make sense. I think this plan makes sense, but that doesn't mean that there couldn't be other plans that also make sense.
Yeah. I mean,
But we have to pick one.
we have to pick one. We're up against deadlines, Joe. So the compliance deadline for us is December. And within that timeline, we need to send a pre-submittal of what we're proposing to get feedback from the state. That's gonna take a few months. I feel bad for these people. The state has like 2 or 3 people working on this.
That's it?
They don't have a lot of, I'm sure they've asked other departments to come and help, but they're very overwhelmed, and I do not envy them and their place. So there's a timeline, so we want to be able to go to Maytown meeting with this, get it to pass, and then if for whatever reason the state pushes it back and says you need to tweak this here, which God forbid, but if they do, it means that we will have a backup of September town meeting to make any other tweaks that we may need to make. So it's kind of
Gives us a little bit of a buffer.
It gives us a buffer, and I really don't think that town meeting members are going to want to do a special town meeting, seeing as we already do 3 town meetings a year, which is more than most towns. So I'm trying to be respectful of them and their time as well. So Yeah, it's kind of complicated, but, you
My
know, we're,
opinion, I think, to be honest with you, I think it's a matter of time. I'd say that law wouldn't pass muster if it was brought to the Supreme Court, you know.
I mean,
Time to justifying a law like that.
And if something like that happens, we can dissolve the overlay.
Yep,
Right.
yep.
yeah, I mean, it's kind of.
Somebody else battle it.
Yeah, I mean, from a professional planning perspective, you know, I care about this community. I want to give you the best information I can and guide you in the right direction. You know, because we have so many options and it's such an easy check the box, we might as well do it. Whether, you know, there are people that have really strong feelings about, you know, this is a government overreach and all this stuff. And, you know, while it's not, I wouldn't say that it's good planning. You know, it's so easy for us to comply.
Right, and for those people who want to defy the law, many of them, as I've been talking to people, it really is a matter of principle that they think this is wrong, that the state is forcing this on us. But I can't see devoting the kind of money it would take for us to get into a legal battle with the state to spend that kind of money when it's so easy for us to comply, doesn't make sense.
Yeah, but I mean, to be honest with you, I mean, the litigation like that, there's gonna be more than enough communities to be kicking you. It would cost you a couple of dollars, really, the amount of communities, and what it would cost to litigate that would be
I say let them
insignificant
litigate
compared to
it,
how many
because we still-
communities would
yeah.
be involved.
But if we let other towns litigate it, if they win, it benefits us and we didn't have to pay for it.
Well, I think there's power in numbers, you know, and that's what I feel like, you know, there's a lot of communities that would like to join forces with other communities, and I think that that's something that, you know, again, we don't necessarily have to spearhead it, but I wouldn't leave it out of the question to, you know,
I'm not sure,
prevent the state from coming in and basically mandating everything they just feel like mandating when they want to mandate it. You know, and it's unreasonable too. It's not even a reasonable thing that they're talking about. You know, it just seems so illegal.
I understand the principle,
Yeah,
but personally, I'm a very practical person. And I feel like if it's easy to comply with the law, and it is, then we should, because there's a benefit to the town in complying. We get grant money and we don't have to pay a whole lot of money on expensive legal disputes. If other towns fight that fight and win, we benefit from their win.
well, I understand, but I mean, you're also, you know, it's not so easy to go to these places and say, we're gonna rezone your property. You know, they could fight you on every one of those grounds too. I mean, you can be fought by every one of the people that you're trying to rezone. And then you find yourself in 10 legal battles instead of one legal battle.
Do you anticipate that? I thought that for the most part, this is not, it's an overlay, it's not changing their
It's
underlying
not
zoning.
changing their underlying zoning, so it wouldn't really have much of an impact on
Unless they
value.
chose in some point in the future to knock down what they've got and rebuild. It doesn't decrease the value of their property. It doesn't hamstring them.
They could
Right.
rebuild with the existing zone today and not go to housing if they knocked it down?
Yeah.
If it's pre-existing,
Yeah.
non-conforming, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
It gives them an additional option. It does not remove options from them.
Yeah, I mean, I am from, you know, as a professional planner, I think long-term. That's what we do. We think long-term. I think about, you know, the state of some of the facilities in town, and that, you know, we've got a police station, we've got schools, we've got a lot of things that, you know, we could use this grant money to help fund. And, you know, again, Joe, you know, I know the principle of it, but, you know, I don't know if, you know, I feel like we are in such good shape, and it's going to have such a low impact on us. You know, it's really no skin off our back, and, you know, if other places want to do that, you know, that's fine. But again, credit where credit is due.
Yeah,
right?
And I think
Well,
there's,
if we were getting credit where credit is due, they'd be looking at our 12 to 14% that we've gone out of our way to comply with the state law as it's been existing for decades.
They
And we've
were-
gone way overboard
Oh,
with that.
you guys have
We've
been
done way,
amazing.
And we
but
are
they don't care
benefiting.
about credit where
Well, we
credit's
are
due.
benefiting from that because of the work that we've done in the past. That's why it's so easy for us to do this without really allowing for much additional housing
Well,
at
none of
all.
those are really,
no, not
none of
40Bs.
those are 40Bs, right?
Right.
So,
Right.
so it really hasn't affected, it hasn't done, that work hasn't done a single thing for this.
No, the 40B work, maybe not, but the other work that we've
I
done.
mean, so we're just adding additional affordable housing, right?
This is not affordable housing.
Not affordable,
This is
it's
all
just housing.
market, well, it's market rate, but what I am proposing is that we do have an inclusionary zoning bylaw. So
Right.
if you are a developer and you're building,
You're gonna-
you're building
Yeah.
over, I think, nine
Yeah.
nine
They gotta
units of
contribute.
housing, then 15% of
Right.
that building has to be affordable for 80% AMI.
And we can still do that.
By the way,
Yes.
that was challenged. You know, there was a case that came down recently on that just about a week or so, 2 weeks ago.
Really?
15%?
Send me some info on
And I
it.
think if it was, I have the case.
Was it because they didn't want, because a developer didn't
I
want?
think it was Stoneham that it happened, and they were forcing over a certain number of units to contribute to the, and the court found that to be,
Contribute.
Oh,
found it to be an overreach by the planning boards
Wait, they were forcing them to contribute what?
to affordable units.
Not build affordable units.
Contribute, build, whatever, we've done all. I mean, it's all one and the same, right? I mean, bottom
So
line.
they found that.
They
it's
found that it
not-
was an overreach
that
by
we
the planning
can't
boards.
say, if you're building 10 units, you have to give us one free, one affordable?
I would like to
Really?
read it before we sleep. I would like to give it a look.
Then how do they expect towns to stay
By
above the
above the
10%?
10%.
Something to
Right,
point
not
out.
by
by
forcing
people
to do it.
They said that-
The court basically said it was an overreach by the planning boards.
Really? Wow.
I'll get the case and you can.
That's very interesting.
Ernie's muted, I think.
I had a question, and it probably would go to the root of the matter. If it was something the planning board just said to the developer, hey, we need 15% of the units to be affordable, it would be one thing. But I think it would be another thing if it already existed in their zoning as ours does. We went to town meeting and asked town meeting to pass an inclusionary zoning bylaw.
And
So
it passed the
already-
AG.
Right.
Can
it
you
already
send me
passed the AG, it already passed
The
the-
AG isn't the final say.
No, but I can,
That's interesting. Can you send it around to all of us?
I'll get, somebody sent it to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to.
Details of it just basically was, I know that the gist of it was that the court had come down and said that, and I believe it was Stoneham, but I'll get it and find it, see it.
Thank you, thank you.
Look at it, yeah.
Caleb, is there someone online?
Well, yes, Sherry Ellis is here. I'm not sure if she wants to add anything else, but she did comment.
Sherry,
this
did you
is
have your hand up?
about I can unmute her if she wants, but I can read off
Oh,
her
there she
comments.
Yeah, I think she wants to talk.
Hi, Sherry, go ahead.
Request unmute. Should be in the middle of the screen. There you go.
There we go.
Oh, can you hear me now?
We can.
Yep. Perfect, even though it's telling me to unmute myself again. Thanks. No, I was just asking for the number of units that basically we would add if this overlay was fully built out versus, we have existing housing in most of it. So what is that total number that we would add after this?
So so is your question, if we all pretended that we put in this overlay and all of the land underneath this overlay is bare land, what would it allow to be built? Is that the question?
Subtracting out.
The existing housing that we have.
Okay, so in other words,
Minus.
Yes, so for example, if we just take one piece of it, say, I just want to make sure we understand your question, Sherry. Say we're talking about Beacon Village. If Beacon, how many units do we have there now? That's X. If that were to be knocked down and built up at 15 units per acre,
Yeah.
how many units would that be? And what's the difference between that and X? Is that what you're getting at?
Asking me to
Every
do.
parcel.
But for all the parcels?
But I mean, the biggest big impact would be the one that doesn't have housing on it now, right?
Yes, it would.
If that's, what, 8, what did you say, 6 or 8?
We said 8
Acres.
acres at 15, so the part that's
15,
not
15,
currently
15, right?
built is 8 unit,
Maybe
about
60,
8
120.
acres times 15 units is 120 units.
Without a calculator.
But,
Choose his fingers.
very good. But
120 just went like this real fast.
and from what I understand, Sherry, the other parcels that are already multifamily, we are not allowing increased density. So if they were to tear them down and rebuild, they would not be able to build more than what they have now under this MBTA law. So the additional units is about 120.
But the point of my point asking that question is that the intent of this bylaw is to increase housing, not to maintain what we have. And so I have a very different view of this than others, is that I feel that we're doing a disservice to this law by not increasing the housing and to just basically it's almost like down zoning. If Beacon Village is, what was it, 18 units per acre, and now you're only going to allow 15. If they ever would.
If they were to
change it.
tear it down and rebuild.
I think that we're not saying they could not rebuild at their same density.
Yeah, that's
They
right.
can still rebuild what they have, so we're not reducing the amount they could build. But I understand what you're getting at, and Sherry, I am very sympathetic to that argument. And I know you and I have discussed this in the past, and the planning department as a whole has been talking about other areas in town where we can create additional housing. But I also have to weigh the need for this to pass town meeting in May. And there is a lot of misinformation and a lot of resistance to this law out there. And if we were to go forward with a really aggressive approach that allows for a lot of additional housing, I would be willing to bet a lot that it wouldn't pass town meeting, and then we end up with a problem because we haven't complied with the law. There is a way for us to comply with this law and still create additional housing opportunities in town. This is not the only way for us to increase housing opportunities in Burlington. But I understand your point.
Yeah, I think there's, we have the economic development group there looking at the Mall Road with
Right.
housing component to it, right?
Yes, and we have
Downtown,
also
we're
been
looking at
talking about the
middle
downtown
housing,
area.
So,
Yes,
and we do it at our own pace, we do it at
Yes.
our own planning versus being dictated by the
Right.
state.
I mean, those are the things we really should be looking at, are the industrial zoned
Right.
lands in the
Exactly right.
and we
in the
do
center
it
of town.
our way, though.
And that's,
With the
yeah.
density we
And
want
not
and
ha-
with the
not have to
design
do it
elements that we
today to
want.
That's
make a
right.
deadline and not force
Right.
it,
Right.
there, let's do it where
That's right.
we can do it, get
Yes.
it passed and work on our long-term plan for the master plan, right?
But I think the message for the community is that this is a way for us to comply with the law that is easy and palatable. It doesn't mean that it's the only way that we can work toward additional housing in town for the benefit of everyone who wants to live here. It's one piece of the puzzle. It is not the whole thing.
Barbara, I think Brenda had her hand raised.
Brenda, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I mean,
I've expressed this before, and my concern is, while I know that we're going to have to submit a preliminary report to the state, to Sherry's point, we're not creating additional housing. And while I'm not in favor of creating a lot of additional housing, this is a workaround. My concern is, and again, we've discussed this before, is that, we'll comply, we'll submit a report, and, the state's goal is to create additional housing. We're not going to do that. And now the next law, or the next leg of this law, will be, now you have to add additional housing. And now we're going to be stuck in a position where, we have to kind of rework the wheel. But again, we're going to be talking about this in depth next week. So I think it's,
And Right, I've seen a lot of,
comments online that are not exactly that, but similar in that vein that, you know, well, what's next? What's the state going to do next? And it's very difficult for us to try to anticipate that.
Well, that's, yeah, I mean, is it
Yeah.
50% that, you know, in other words,
Yeah.
I just feel like no matter what you do, they're gonna be looking for more, so
Yeah,
it's,
I mean, I mean, ultimately in the planning community, it's put a lot of planners in a really tough position. It's kind of, you know, as planners, we like to be thoughtful and kind of measured in how we do this, and this is kind of like,
Not, yes.
it's not
Yeah.
a measured approach. And so,
So we are going to be
doing our
discussing
best.
this at our next meeting, so I think unless there's anyone else who had something they wanted to add, maybe we could move on. Everyone feel okay about that?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Next up on our list of discussions is zoning articles for Maytown meeting, and we have a lot of them. The first one we've already talked about, MBTA communities, so let's just move on to the next one.
Put the table up. So the first one is kind of, you've already seen it, it's a rehashing of the use table modernization that I've been working on with the help of the chamber and land use and ZBRC and this board, and it's kind of been an all hands on deck effort, and I want to again thank everybody. So what has happened since we didn't move forward in January is I have received comments from the chamber. I've incorporated some, I've reached out to town council, we've discussed them. We've incorporated some, we haven't others. And so I have sent the chamber and the latest version with you know, what we deem to be a happy medium. That is what I submitted as a warrant article for town meeting. And when Amy puts that up on the website soon, I think, on the town meeting website, you'll be able to see it, but that's the version that the chamber has right now. I am anticipating more comments from them. And again, I'll work with town council to go back and forth, but the point of this is to just modernize our use table, make it less verbose, put the verbose part in definitions where they belong, and then consolidate some of the uses so it's easier to read and a little more straightforward for people who are looking to permit here.
Right. So actually, just so for everybody listening and all of us, the purpose of this, we're not going to vote on any of these tonight. We're going to be voting on them at our next meeting. So you may go ahead and ask questions and everything, but there's probably going to be changes between now and then because of the work that Liz is doing with other groups in the community. So we don't necessarily want to get too far into the weeds tonight.
Yep, so I mean, MBTA communities is like a whole
That's
other
different,
ballgame.
yeah.
But the point of this discussion is for me to just kind of give an overview to
Of what
you
we're
guys,
bringing.
but also the public about what zoning is going forward for a town meeting.
Right.
Next is general regulations, update pertaining to parking and landscaping. This is again a rehashing of what we put forward for January, but then ended up postponing. Again, same situation. Chamber has been amazing to work with, CBRC, land use, you guys, and so it's with the chamber again, working on comments. I think Bill, I sent you an email. You've seen the back and forth. I think it's been honestly, it's been a tough process, but it's been a really wonderful process for everybody involved. So I'm really happy with where we're at. The next is town center middle housing. I know. Oh, sorry, Ernie.
Sorry. Question on parking, Liz. Did we get under landscaping and parking, did we get the granite in there? Do you remember?
Yes,
I haven't
still,
looked.
yes,
Okay,
the
thank
vertical,
you.
yes,
Thank you.
yes. That
Right.
we encourage vertical granite curbing.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay. Thank you.
Don't worry, Ernie, thank you for that.
Yes. Can I chime in if you don't mind?
Yeah.
Actually, I got a call from a resident today regarding,
Oh,
and you know, because there have been a handful of instances recently where drivers have driven into establishments. You know, being there was 2 different restaurants where, you know, in Burlington where somebody had driven actually into the restaurant itself, and the concern was that properties that are by right use that we haven't reviewed a site plan don't have bollards.
they don't have bollards, that's true.
Bollards, and is there I guess the question is, can we do something about that? And, you know, is there a way that we can contact Simon to maybe insert those as well? So, I mean, I guess one is where we're talking about parking. I don't know if that's something we want to include in this. Two, you know, a separate conversation, and we should probably talk to Simon about that.
Yeah, I was not aware that, I mean, that was happening. I know that it happened.
A couple of them, didn't you?
Yeah, I did know that there are a few of those. I do want to say, since I've been working here, this board, whenever there is any head-in parking anywhere, this board has been extremely diligent about mandating that bollards are installed. You guys have been honestly really amazing. Again, when we have a by right use, when something is just changing, I can definitely look into it, Brenda. I can do some research on it, talk to town council, see what we can do. It is a safety measure, but thank you for bringing it up. It's really helpful. It's a really good note, and I'm gonna look into it. Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so middle housing, we were moving on to, and so with middle housing, I want to find out what my fellow board members think. We've talked about adding a definition for middle housing, and as you all know, the purpose of adding that is so that we would then in the future zone certain areas for middle housing, and we've talked about some of those appropriate areas. I personally feel comfortable moving forward with the definition, but it has been suggested that it would be confusing to town meeting if we were to move forward with the definition if we did not have zoning at the same time showing them where it would go. I'd like to hear your feedback on that, my fellow board members.
I'll let you go first.
I mean, I think we talked about that, and I kind of feel the same way. I think it'd be a little bit, to
Which way?
go forward. Without the zoning, without
You think it's
all
okay
parts
to
at
just,
one time, I think we should be moving.
we should do them all
parts
together?
at one time, yeah.
So if that were the case, would you want to hold this definition for September to go along with a zoning change? Because I think it would be difficult to try and push forward a zoning change along with all these other things that we have going on in May.
Yeah, but what good is one without the other, really?
Yeah, I mean,
Right, I mean,
The idea was-
basically gonna
yeah.
be just empty verbiage without something, to back it up, right? So.
I
in
don't
other words, I
mind
think we should
postponing it. I don't want to
pair them both
postpone it
and-
for long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but again, it's only gonna be postponed as long as the
Yes.
zoning law is gonna be postponed. So one's no good without the other, so it's, the most important part of it is
the
it's
zoning.
still yet to be developed, so.
Okay. Okay, everybody's in agreement? Ernie, did you,
Agreed. Yep.
you agreed? Okay, well then let's just pull it,
Okay.
okay?
Yeah, no, I think it's a worthy exercise to go through. We do need more housing options.
Yes.
And this
so
is a new housing.
We have a lot going on in May though, so maybe we decide to do this in September.
Yep,
Okay.
definitely revisit it.
Okay. Next is rezoning of Fox Hill parcel. I'm going to let Liz tell you what it is they're looking for. I personally do not think this is the right time to do this.
So this was presented to me on Tuesday. The consultants that have been working with the school board on the Fox Hill school site and what they're going to submit to the MSBA, they have talked to me about, what kind of permitting they would need and what would need to happen. And one of their plans is that they would like the school to be considered carbon neutral. And so what that means is they're looking to use geothermal as the major heat source. So if, for whatever reason, if that system were to break, for whatever reason, would need repair, they would need an emergency generator on site to like keep the building heated, safety systems, all that stuff. So what they would like to see is they would like to see a diesel emergency generator there. In order for them to get a big rebate, the state is giving rebates for geothermal right now. And as part of that, if the town were to connect, say, a natural gas line for a natural gas generator, we would not be eligible for those rebates. And so one of the, so diesel generators are not allowed in the RO zoning district.
Right, and nor should they be.
Right, nor should they. Exactly, I agree. Correct. So one of the ways that I have thought about this, a creative solution could be, is rezoning to the limited business district, which is not unprecedented for town buildings. So the town hall annex and the fire station, so in the BL district, and the police station is also in the BL district, so it's not an unprecedented thing for town properties to be in that district. And also it allows them to have a diesel generator through a special permit process with this board. I do think I am reaching out to them to kind of get a little bit more specificity on it. It might need to be tweaked a little bit. And, you know, so I guess.
Wait, so they're saying it's okay to have diesel, but
But not
it
gas.
takes it out if you use gas.
Yeah.
That's what the state is saying, yes. Because it's, natural gas is not carbon neutral, according to the state
No,
of.
but which one
diesel
burns
is.
cleaner? That's what I want to know. Which one burns cleaner?
Exactly.
No,
So-
it wouldn't.
So my problem with this is, well, what you're saying, but also, this came to us 2 days ago, and we really haven't had time to think about it and think about any other unintended consequences. And at the same time, this is, I think, putting the cart before the horse, because the school department is not going to town meeting for the Fox Hill Elementary School until September at the earliest. Why are we rezoning the property for a school that we don't even know what's going to be built or when? So I would prefer to just postpone this indefinitely or withdraw it and bring it forward again once we know what's happening on the Fox Hill site.
I can definitely talk. I want to get more information about this. I mean, I'm literally here to just give you the rundown.
Okay.
Of kind of like, so again, this is kind of one of those things that I think
Okay.
is going to.
I just think it's premature. I'm not against
And
it.
who's submitting it?
The school committee through the select board.
And select board, okay.
Well, it's through the select
Who's
board.
select board, okay.
Yeah, it's again, it's because they want to be eligible for those rebates for the geothermal.
Right.
And it's all well and good unless you're one of the houses that live around there. You're
Exactly.
trying to watch TV or trying to breathe. Then
And
that's-
that diesel
And
thing
they're
as
running
well,
their diesel
yeah.
and everything all next to your house
Right.
in here. This is the whole,
It's crazy. Yes, please go ahead.
Normally you have a generator on the site because of the possibility of your loss of electric power.
Right.
Right?
And in this case, you're having the generator on the site because of your loss of geothermal capability, I guess is what they're saying. Am I right, Liz? Is that what they've said?
Again, I don't know. I have a high level view of this. I want to get more in depth. You know, are there alternative fuel sources? Like, could they use propane instead, which, you know, a lot of single family houses have propane.
it's more volatile.
Yeah.
Yeah, for a school, it's kind of,
But, you know, I want to dig a little bit deeper into this.
Right.
Yeah, but great questions, Ernie, and we can talk about it more, but
Also, the other thing is, in order to submit their application to the ASBA or whoever it goes to there, do they have to have a site that would be compliant for what they're submitting their application for?
Yeah, I don't know that either. I don't know that either.
Yeah.
That's a great
Valid
question.
questions, Ernie.
Great questions. And then we have Sherry has
Yes,
her hand up.
and Brenda. Brenda, why don't you go first?
So, thank you, Madam Chair. So where the select board is submitting this for the school committee, I understand it's a zoning thing, and so obviously is, within our purview, but are we only discussing this just because it's a zoning article? Because clearly we haven't really had any involvement with it, and to your point, to rezone something that hasn't even been approved yet seems a little silly. But do we have any ability to say, hey, guys, let's pull this?
I want to talk to them, get the full story.
I don't think we can pull it. We can vote against it or for it.
They'll
We could
also-
ask them to pull it. I think it's their choice though, right?
Yeah.
They'll be at the next, when this opens as a public hearing on the 7th,
School committee.
they'll be here, or representatives from the school
Okay.
committee will
That
be here to
helps.
discuss
Yeah,
this
we'll
with
be-
us, so we
Okay.
can, so questions
Ask
that
all
we
these
have tonight, we can
questions.
ask in the
Okay.
meantime, as well as they'll be able to answer them, I'm sure, at the next meeting, so we
Okay.
can get more background into
Thank
why
you.
they're doing this, the timing of it,
Okay,
and all those, that they will be here on the 7th.
okay. Did you have anything else, Brenda?
That's all, thank you.
Thank you. Sherry?
Let me unmute Sherry. Request should be sent. Hey. Sherry, do you see it? There we go.
There we go. Sorry,
Okay.
I hit it twice in a row, sorry. Now I'm trying to, I can't do two things at once. Sorry, trying to lower my hand. One note is as far as the diesel generator goes, it's allowed for the carbon neutral buildings only as a backup generator. So they allow it for that. But my real question was, when I saw this, is where in the zone, is it in zoning bylaws or somewhere else where diesel is not allowed in residential? I didn't find that.
So it doesn't say that specifically. So what it says in the use table is storage of petroleum products and fuel oils is, I can,
I can find it.
where's the use table?
It does say no, but
Right.
so does that mean every resident in this community that has diesel generators, backup generators, and stores fuel for their snow blowers and all that stuff, we're all illegal?
I think it's not a commercial.
It's not a commercial
site,
enterprise.
Those are just personal uses, yeah.
Aren't those
I mean,
usually
if you were
gas-powered?
storing,
I
I
thought
mean,
those were gas-powered generators, usually not diesel.
I mean,
Well, even so, it's a gas-powered generator. According to the bylaws, if we have gas-powered generators in RO zones, they're not allowed to be there.
I think the storage, it's gotta go be to a different level to be considered the storage.
Yeah,
of
this
it.
is not like, yeah, it's a
Yeah.
quantity, it's not, I
So
mean.
if you have your little jug of
Not 5
gasoline for
gallon.
your, yeah.
It's like you're having gas for your lawnmower. We're not, the town is
not a
not
problem.
it's not gonna be a problem. But when you're getting to the
Industrial
level
tanks.
and of industrial
But if you
level,
put a tank in the ground, right, I mean, that's a whole
Yeah.
different story altogether. Like,
My point is we should look at the zoning bylaw, because a lot of people have oil tanks in the ground. They probably have diesel generators. And right now it says no, and there's no quantity there at all. So more, not for this article, but just in general to review our bylaws, we should look at that.
excellent. Thanks, Sherry. Good point.
Thank you. Okay. Anyone else want to talk about the Fox Hill thing?
All right. Grandview Farm rezoning.
So we are taking, because of we're looking at the police station.
It's
building.
it's the sculpture park land.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank
So, as part of the feasibility study for the police station, they're looking at site plans, that, they want to keep the police station where it is. Barbara and Brendan, myself, were at a meeting that they had of the working group for that today, where they really went into detail about kind of, the state that the building is in. They had professionals go in and really look at it and the systems. And so this rezoning is to, take some of the portion of the Grandview Farm land that is where the sculpture park is and rezone it so that the police station can be rebuilt. They want to take up as little space as possible, but some of it does need to be rezoned to accommodate a new police station. The site plan is still very preliminary. They don't really want to encroach on Grandview Farm, but public safety is public safety, and so if they need to be able to put a driveway through it or a little bit of parking that encroaches, they want to be safe and rezoning it out of the PD and into the BL district, which is what the police station currently is in, is what they're seeking to do. Because it's in the Grandview Farm PDD with the land swap, Joe.
So will they be splitting a piece of that off?
Yep.
Okay.
So, I mean, based on what? Is there a project that's been approved somehow? How you just rezone property when you don't even know what the project is yet?
They have some preliminary plans.
Well, yeah, I mean, what is
can
Well, I
ask
guess
them
in
at
a
the
way, it's
next
the
meeting.
same argument I'm making with the schools.
Well, yeah, exactly right, exactly right. I mean, in other words, you know, did they even look at the fact that we're requesting to keep the building that's there and then, you know, expand into that area, which would actually just be a, you know, maybe a, whatever the size they're looking for would just be an addition into that area, maybe bigger than what's existing, bottom line.
I can tell
But it
you,
would,
I
would
can
stay in
answer
that
some of that.
location.
What's being presented by, I guess you'd call it the consultants, is that the building is in such a terrible state of disrepair that the cost of propping it up and bringing it to the point where it's structurally sound is so high that they can't do it, that there isn't enough money to do it. They're not intending to work with the existing building. They are intending to tear it down and build another building in that spot. That's the plan. That's what they're moving forward with. And part of that plan would be to take a part of this parcel. Now, I agree with you that this is the same exact thing as what I just said about the school committee. It's probably premature to rezone this property based on a project that hasn't been approved yet by town meeting. But I also want to be honest with what I'm hearing in these meetings. I know that there are members of the community, and you are one of those who would like to see that building saved. I would love to see that building saved, but it's not something that I have the bandwidth to take on. We talked about this at a previous meeting. And unless somebody wants to spearhead that effort, it's going to get torn down. That's just the fact.
You know, the fact is that, you know, these architects and all they want to do is sell you a bill of goods. And they told us the Grandview Farm wasn't salvageable either.
I'm not disagreeing with you,
Right,
Joe.
so the point is that, you know, in other words, they need to really look at options that other people are concerned about. They're not the only, I understand they want a building, and that's all well and good, but there are other people in town that also have values.
I agree.
A lot of people in town, as a matter of fact.
But you need to go
you
to
know.
those meetings and express those
Well,
things
I've expressed them.
to me. and
I,
to hear what
no,
you've heard.
no, I've
Have you?
expressed them.
Okay, good.
Absolutely have
Okay.
expressed them to them.
Well, I'm letting you know that from what I'm hearing, that's not on their radar.
All right, well, then
I'm just-
they're up for a battle.
Okay,
That's, you know,
that's okay. I'm not saying you shouldn't fight it. I'm just saying you should be aware that that's not the plan that they're moving forward with right now.
whatever.
So I want to make sure that I'm also representing this. Okay.
So, I mean, this is kind of the same thing.
Well, I'm telling you this,
Yes.
this person will never rezone the property unless there's a project that's been fully vetted and,
Well, that's fair. I'm not.
and approved.
I
You
feel
don't
the same
rezone
way
property
about
as a project
this.
that's approved.
Right, I feel the same way about this as I
Right.
did about the school thing.
Right.
It's premature. It's putting the cart before the horse. So we probably will approach this the same way we're approaching this school. We should have them come to the next meeting, and we're going to say to them, you know, why would we do this before you have an approved project? And we will recommend, I think, you know, the board will discuss and perhaps come to the point where we recommend that they delay until such time that they have an approved project. But that'll happen hopefully at the next meeting, that discussion will occur. Fair? Okay. Anyone want to add anything? Brenda, Ernie, anyone? Bill?
Nope.
Nope, okay. Next up, Northwest Park PDD drive-through.
Let me pull it up.
So we received a zoning bylaw amendment to allow for one drive-through establishment via special permit in the Northwest Park PDD.
on the corner of Fourth Ave and Middlesex Turnpike in front of the Lifetime Building.
Are they specific on that, or is just? in general?
They are not specific on that.
Oh, they're not?
They,
I thought that's what, okay,
I
Well,
think that we cannot officially say that, but,
okay.
Because of the spot zoning?
It's
no,
an-
It's in a
because it's not
PDD.
it's not a rezoning, it's just changing the allowed uses. So it's not spot zoning.
So it's already,
What?
it's already zoned now.
It's already PDD.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
already PDD. It's
But
just
in the
changing
PDD
uses within that PDD.
Right, they have to
for
get a
that
special permit.
particular part, that particular carve-out.
Yes, they don't say that it's going to be in that specific spot. But
So they just want to add to the whole
they
PDD?
just want it, they want to allow that use, one of those in the PDD, based upon the history of kind of the development in that area. And, the Fourth Ave, when we were permitting the Fourth Ave housing, they had that out parcel, and they initially had the site plan came with a drive-through, proposed drive-through, if you recall. And so, I mean, I think we can surmise.
But they're gonna have to come and
Yeah, of course, yep.
present next week, next
Yep.
meeting.
Yep. So that is kind of the last, too many. And then, Madam Chair, I know that Sherry and ZBRC had submitted, what they were working on last town meeting. But I did get an email from Sherry that they are withdrawing it. I, personally think what the work is really good and that it's a worthy cause. So I just want to say that I don't think it should be given up. But I think that,
My impression wasn't that they were giving up, but rather they were
Good.
just
That's what I
taking
thought.
more time. Am I correct, Sherry?
Oh, she's gonna be up to unmuted.
It's ready to go as it is. We withdrew it from May. I submitted it because our meeting was not until after the deadline, but I knew full well, we don't want to submit an article in May when it's the budget. So we're holding off
Okay.
until September. The building inspector said, what's 3 more months? He thinks it's
Fair enough.
high time to do it, but we're just going to wait.
Okay. Cool. Okay, thank you, Sherry.
Sherry,
So next up on our discussion item, earlier this week, Brenda and I had a meeting with Eric Conti and Bob Kuna about planning board involvement in their building projects, because we both felt that we were being brought in too late in the project when it came to the Fox Hill project. So we had a very productive conversation, and they agreed that they would add a planning board member to their building committees. So with that in mind, I am looking to appoint one member to the Fox Hill School Building Committee and one member to the High School Building Committee. And Brenda's hand is raised. Brenda?
Madam Chair,
I'd like to be a part of the high school building committee. I also want to note that, during our discussion with Dr. Conti, he noted that while the person who would be involved in Fox Hill, correct me if I'm wrong, if I misunderstood, because there is state involvement, that person would need to be approved by the state in order to have voting rights. But they would be, their opinion would be valued and taken into consideration. As opposed to with the high school being part of the building committee, it's more of an advisory committee and you would have a vote, but the ultimate decision is within the school committee itself.
Correct, on all counts.
Thank
So getting to the,
Putting Fox Hill aside for just a minute, Brenda has said she wants to be the appointee to the high school building committee. Is there anyone who wants to, fight her for that job? Or should we just appoint Brenda with the understanding that all of these meetings are public and we can all attend? Anyone? No? Okay, Brenda is appointed. Fox Hill School Building Committee. As Brenda said, because the Fox Hill Building Committee is actually prescribed by MSBA as to who is on it, we cannot just add an official member, but we can add someone who's going to go to all the meetings and report back and represent our interests. And I think that's still worthy. We need to have that. We need to have someone's eyes and ears on this project. So, anyone want to volunteer?
I'll volunteer.
Great. Bill?
I feel like the Hunger
Terrific.
Games here.
You feel like what?
The
Hunger
odds
Games?
are in my favor.
Who will volunteer as tribute?
Is there a way to get on a voter so the state has to approve that?
Yes, if you feel that you want to pursue that, we can talk to Eric again, and we can ask them to, I think the MSBA has to approve the appointment of another voting member. I see no reason why that couldn't happen, but we just have to ask them to set those wheels in motion.
Sounds good. Thank you, Madam
Okay,
Chair.
we will do that. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bill. Okay, so the next planning board meeting is a joint meeting with Land Use, ZBRC, and the MBTA Community Working Group. I also wanted to let the members know that that meeting will be chaired by Brenda. I will be present, but I will be online because I will be joining from Pittsburgh. So, did you have something else?
No, I was just gonna, it's fine, we can talk about it the next one of actually, I can just pull it up. It's quickly about the drive-through at Northwest
Oh,
Park.
okay.
That, as far as within the writing of the text of officially where they can and can't put it, that the proposed zoning amendment, and I learned about this, because I saw this, that there's on the tab there on the side, it says Area A and Area B.
Right.
And this drive-through would only be allowed in Area B.
Right.
And so I just want to kind of orient you that this is the roundabout here, and then this is kind of, it's a little bit outdated as far as what the parcels look like, but this gives you a sense, this is the exit of 4th Ave, so this is where Lifetime Living is. So that is part of Area B, that Area B is on the right side of the screen. So
Okay.
just to give you guys a sense
Really
of.
large area.
Yes.
So yeah, so this wouldn't be where King's and Wegmans and
Right.
Twist is, that part of the
Okay.
PDD, that per the proposed zoning amendment, it would be in Area B.
So it
Thank you.
narrows it down.
Yeah.
Okay.
What's the board's position historically been on drive-throughs? I know a lot of them get a little funky over time, like.
I personally am not in favor most of the time. I mean, sometimes it makes sense, but I'm cautious.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair.
That's just my opinion. I don't know how the rest of the board members feel.
Yeah, to me, it depends on where it's where the location is.
Depends on where it
right?
is.
I mean,
We're working
what
really
it can
hard.
accommodate, what it's, what kind of traffic you got, what kind, is it,
Right.
is it gonna queue up out onto a main road, is it gonna
Right.
not?
If they're proposing where we think they're proposing it, I would not be in favor because it's on the corner of Middlesex Turnpike and 4th Avenue where we already have backups. And it doesn't
Taking
seem
rights
like,
and lefts there where they're not.
yes, yeah. But we will wait and see what they say.
Okay, great. Thank you, Madam Chair.
One other thing I just wanted to bring up, that Liz and Caleb and I interviewed someone for the senior planner position today. I don't think any decisions have been made, but I wanted to just let the board know that that's moving forward. We had a good interview. Liz has some decisions to make, but it was productive and I think promising.
Yeah, it went really well. So.
We're making progress, and it's
We
been a
are
long time.
making progress.
It's been a
happening.
long time.
We're making progress. It's good.
Yeah, Liz has been trying really hard to find a candidate with the necessary skills, and it's been a difficult search, I think it's fair to say. So we have a promising candidate. Brenda?
I was waiting for you to finish this topic and it's.
Oh, that's it, I'm done.
I'm sorry.
I'm done, go ahead.
Oh, okay. So, again, shifting gears on a different topic. I received actually a couple calls today from different residents, and one resident had asked or had viewed the meeting that we had regarding the police station this afternoon, and had an understanding of whether or not building the police station was going to go to a debt exclusion, or it should be funded with, traditionally like through the operating budget. And this man was very passionate about pursuing building through the operating budget and not going to a vote, and had asked how the board feels. Additionally, had asked if we could send a friendly letter to the select board of our opinion. And I said, I will bring it up to the board.
Yeah.
It's kind of beyond our
No,
purview.
It is,
Yeah.
personally, I mean, I have my personal opinions about this, but I'm
Sure, it's really our purview to inject where we think the funding should come from. I don't know how the rest of the board members feel.
It has really nothing to do with it.
Agreed, and that's
Exactly what I said to him.
Agreed.
We're all elected officials, and if a resident reaches out to us, I think it's our duty to discuss the issue at hand and bring up the topic. So I
right.
just,
And
everyone know that this was a conversation that was had.
thank you.
Just wanted to
I
present.
hope that resident who
We'll reach out to the select board, who's actually the body that would be making a decision about that.
I told him to reach out to recently, and
Okay.
and to the town manager.
Thank you.
But, if somebody reaches out to any one of us, I think it would be
Yes,
self-serving to state things.
absolutely.
Thank you.
I mean, I think all of you know I have very strong opinions about this, but my opinions are those of a resident. It doesn't really matter as a member of the planning board what I think about funding. That's not my job.
This is what I shared with this gentleman, but, again, what you presented is that's our duty to do so.
Okay, thank you, Brenda. Do any other members have any other business they want to bring forward? Okay,
Madam Chair, make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Chairman LaRue,
yes.
Rappaport,
And
Covino,
Yes.
Impemba,
Yes.
Gaffney.
Yes.
Have a wonderful evening, everyone. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you so
We are
much.
adjourned.